All right, the recording has started. Let me know if there's any difficulties on your side, and we are going to begin. All right. So again, this is we're going to be going over weekly training. This week we'll be going over the school recruiting program. If you have any questions, either feel free to just chime in, since it is just the two of us at this point. I will again try checking on the teams, but if you're not super familiar with Teams, it's hard to always catch when you're raising your hand or anything like that. So again, just if you got any questions, just chime in. I am listening. All right.
Roger.
So, did you take the competency test yet?
So I took the test about 2 months ago, month ago, July, and then I'm waiting for the test in November, and then
Cool.
depending on how I do on that, then it's December timeframe for the actual test. The
Yep.
whole portion at Knox is what I'm
Yep.
tracking.
Yep. That's exactly how it goes. So yeah. So what we're going to be going over this week is the part of the hands-on portion over at Knox that they'll start doing the school recruiting program hands-on portion. And when we get closer to the next list eligibility exam test and the competency test, we'll actually review that also in November as well.
Awesome.
So all the hands-on portions of the test, they're going to be going over this rubric. Did you get a copy of the handbook yet?
I don't believe I have.
Okay.
I don't know.
So since you found your way to this Teams group, it is uploaded into the files section. So you should be able to download it from the files section. This PowerPoint presentation will be in the file section along with a copy of this recording training session. So you'll be able to go over this at your leisure and be able to pull it all up. So the rubric here is what is graded. This will be put into your file at Fort Knox, and it'll be marked go, no go for each of these portions. So all the other stuff that goes on at Fort Knox, all the other distractors and stuff that they'll be asking you to do, that won't be part of what you're grading on. So knowing this rubric is very important. You'll be knowing what event you'll be doing the day before, maybe even earlier in the week. They'll give you the train schedule, and just know the rubric, know what's expected of you, and study based off of the rubric. It's all based off of what's in the STP 805K 79 Romeo, which you can download from the file section in iChrome. Main takeaways from the rubric. 2 is that the competency test, it's 30 minutes hands-on portion going into a simulated high school, talking with the role players, and then a 30-minute building your school recruiting plan on a computer, either a provided computer or the computer they have you bring to the event. You must pass 16 of the 19 steps to get a go for this event. Any questions about that?
Negative.
Awesome. So the way this starts is they have all the competitors gather into a holding area, and at least the way it started last year. They have all the competitors gather in a holding area, and they take you one by one in to get a brief from a station commander, and they essentially tell you the brief as it's instructed, as the instructions are to the candidate there. I, station commander's name, will be your evaluator for this task on how to implement a school recruiting program, and they'll just go right down, telling you what to expect of you, and they'll give you some other things that's expected of you too, like find a future soldier, tell them that this needs to be done. They'll tell you all types of other stuff on top of that, but the main thing that they're going to be grading you on is the stuff that's on the rubric on the page before. You'll also see there's a couple little typos on this that say that you have an hour within the school. That's based off of previous master recruiter badge hands-on test, but it's 30 minutes within the school and then 30 minutes to complete the school zone. You're authorized to bring an index card with no paper and a pen, and that's pretty much it. You're not allowed to bring anything else with you into the high school. The timer does not start until you actually enter the high school. They will usually try to mess with you a little bit outside of the high school. Previous years, they had a security guard really tried to, the idea was to loosen you guys up because it was a very stressful time. But I think the last year that they did away with that because they thought it was a little unprofessional. But the time does not start until you enter the high school. And last year was also very important to build rapport with all the individual role players. The role players would not give you their business card, would not give you the calendars, newspaper, the other stuff that they have until you actually try to establish a little bit of rapport with the individuals that had the stuff that you were looking for. So that was up to the individual role players to determine whether you built that rapport, but that was a part of it that you would have to actually establish that rapport. So you would have to talk to everyone, build that rapport. Some other important, yeah.
So from what I'm getting is you kind of, in a sense, have to play the game in order to get I'm just kind of lost on get the materials that you need to implement a new program, or
Right.
is it kind of like a, hey, walk in, I want to see how you conduct yourself in a high school setting? Or is it you have to sort of play a game instead of just being yourself? Like, cause I guess I'm just confused on which one it's going towards.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So you're being evaluated for the hands-on portion of going to a high school. You're not really being evaluated on anything on that part, but you do have to gather the information needed to build your school recruiting program in School Zone.
Oh,
you cannot get any of the information to build your school recruiting program in School Zone unless you build rapport with the role players, because they will not give you the information.
Now it all makes sense.
Yeah. So you were
because I
not being
was wondering, you were saying like calendars and stuff, and I started, I'm thinking, what do I do with, okay, now we're there. We're there
Yeah,
now.
so the calendars, the business cards, all that information that you are gathering is going to be used to build your school recruiting program. So yeah, so you're not being evaluated on anything actually in the high school that you do, but all that information will be used to build your school recruiting program. And you can't just, if you fail to gather any of that information, you will have a grader with you who will be taking notes and possibly say, hey, look, this guy did not gather this information. There's no way that he could build it in his school recruiting program. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does now.
Okay. So yeah, you're not actually being graded on anything, but you need to actually be able to build that rapport to get that information to build your school recruiting program, which is what you're being graded on in the next steps.
So in terms of building the rapport, I mean, is that just obviously
very subjective? Yep.
Exactly.
And you only have 30 minutes. So the role players are instructed not to make it super hard to do that. They're going to be like, hey, as long as you aren't abrupt, you aren't a jerk, you aren't being rude, they're going to say, hey, look, yep, rapport has been established. We're going to give them the information. You don't have to, know them by their first name, be, ready to go out and have lunch with them the next day. But you have to, treat them like a regular person. And because previous years, like when I went through it, I just walked up to the person and said, hey, can I get your business card? Can I get this information? Come in. And they would just give me the card, give me the information, and move on. That was the ROE essentially. If I asked for a business card, if I asked for this calendar, asked for the school the directory, they just gave it to me and we moved on. I didn't have to establish rapport or anything like that. When they're like, well, that's not realistic. That doesn't create
Yeah.
a real school environment. You need to actually establish, rapport with these people because as per this, scenario right here, you are going to a new school. This is not someplace that's been established by you before. You don't know these people. You need to actually develop, rapport so they will actually give you this information. In a real scenario, they wouldn't just give you all this information necessarily. So
Okay.
that's
Now,
the idea behind it.
how many role players are there?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. Last year they brought in about 20 of us from 20 Master Recruiter badge holders, and then there's a bunch actually on Fort Knox, whether from the schoolhouse or from headquarters itself. So not
And
all of them are actual Master Recruiter badge holders for this event. It could be just staff at Fort Knox or in the schoolhouse or
And you have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to build rapport with 20 individuals?
no, you don't need to build it with every person. So you'll have certain areas that you'll see that you need to go to, like the JRT. So if you go back to this thing,
Yes.
you need to
So
go
I'll
to see the
that.
principal, secretary, counselor, who has the student newspaper editor information, prior service information. You only need to get this information. So if you ask, hey, where's the principal's office? Well, they'll say, hey, that's down this hallway. So maybe he has the rest of this information that you need. So if you can get all that information from one person, bam, you're done. You're good to go.
Yeah, because
Right?
I mean, realistically, like you can, if it's any sort of actual JRTC,
Right.
you can go to the JRTC who's going to be more open to you since you're
Exactly.
military anyway, and get everybody's information.
Exactly. So if you find, so historically, and who knows what'll happen this year, but historically, one person always had all of this information. You would just have to figure out who that one person was that had all of this information. And if you lucked out and found that one, and it was never the person that you suspected, right? It was
Yeah.
always like the gym teacher had all this information, or the janitor had all this information. But you would have to, kind of guess around to figure out who that person was. And just, be when you had an hour to do it, it was a little bit easier because you had more time to talk to everybody. But if you go say, hey, look, I need to speak to the principal first because I need to set up an ASVAB date. So you go to
Mhm.
principal's office and say, hey, principal, we need to set the ASVAB date because that's the person that you have to talk to as per step number 6, right? Perform
Yeah.
school visit with a principal. Step number 6 has to be done. So you got to go see the principal first. So you go see the principal first, get step number 6, A, B, and done. And step number 2, A, get the answer. Say, hey, principal, I also need the JROTC population, school website, graduation date. And he might say, well, I don't have that information, but this person does have that information. And he might direct you to that person who does have it. Or if he doesn't, well, maybe this person does, and then he'll
So
direct you to who does.
I mean, sorry. So I just took over this station 2 months ago, right? So this for me, implementing a new school program is what I've been doing the last 3 weeks, basically. So in my eyes, I mean, to make it super simple and make this kind of a cupcake walk, it would be principal first, then
Yeah.
secretary, then counselor, because the secretary is going to hold everything besides
There you go.
the numbers, and then the counselor could give you the numbers.
But sometimes, yeah. So, but ask the secretary if they have this information, because sometimes the secretary will have the directory or the school list or something like that that may have those information too. So, you just have to ask in this event, right?
Yes.
They might actually have that information and say, hey, do you have this? Because the secretary, you might see the secretary before you see the principal. And if you can get all this information filled out before you even see the principal, then bam, you just got all that done just by seeing 2 people and you're good to go. And the rest of those, 20 minutes they have left are just kind of, filling up, making sure that you get everything else checked off that you need to get checked off.
Now, in terms of the actual materials that I'm going to get back, am I going to have to take something in there and duplicate the materials, or are they going to give me the materials that I need to go into School Zone and build it?
So yeah, so again, you can bring with you in a note card. So I had brought with me giant index cards
Yeah.
Not your 3x5, but whatever the next level up is, 5x8 index cards
Mm-hmm.
and a note paper. And I had actually brought a whole stack of them, so I gave them to everyone that was in my cohort. Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of us in my master crew badge. I think there was 80 of us that started off, and only about 20 of us made it through. But I had given everyone these giant 5x8 index cards, and we used that all to write down that information. And but you were also, when we got the newspaper, you were able to hold on to that newspaper. When we got the school list, you were all able to hold on to the school list and the business cards. And when we went back to the recruiting station to fill out the information in the recruiting station, um, we were using those business cards, everything, and then we turned them in at the end of the event to the graders, so that the information stayed within the event, so it didn't get
Yeah,
out
it
to.
didn't like leak out and go to
Right,
somebody that doesn't really need it.
right. Hmm.
Okay. So in school zone, right? So I'm gonna have 30 minutes to build a calendar.
Yeah. So like the main stuff for that, and it's in the slides here too, is just if being a station commander, you're probably really familiar with it. It's just standard
Yeah.
building a calendar stuff. Make sure you pick the right school. That's a big thing. Make sure you're picking the right school. Make sure you're picking the right school year. And that's what got when I went through, people were picking the wrong school, and then they were picking the wrong school year. If you pick the wrong school year, this year it's an automatic no-go. That's added into the rubric.
I mean, yeah, that kind of
Previous
makes sense.
previous years it wasn't an automatic no-go, because it wasn't specifically outlined that you had to pick the right school, had to pick the right school year. So it wasn't an automatic no-go. This year it is an automatic no-go. If you pick the wrong school or wrong school year, automatic no-go. So you got to be aware of those two things. So that's just, like I said, it seems like it's common sense, but like I said, previous years.
Now, are you able to bring, so say you take your index cards in with you, right? Are you able to bring them back to you and then use them while building school zone?
Yes, yeah, yeah. Everything that you bring into the live fire event, you bring with you while you build school zone.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
So, yep. And then you just go right through and just do, this is the way I did it. Go right through, start with you write down the rubric, high school performance, and you put in whatever it's supposed to be, ROTC. Then just write down like you're filling out normal school zone stuff. Nothing too exciting, right? Just filling it out the way it's supposed to be filled out.
Okay.
And then it's not specifically outlined right now, but I know they were talking a lot about it, knowing what the difference is between COI and VIP. I know it's not really outlined great in the school recruiting program regulations, but know that COIs can provide leads, VIPs cannot. If they're prior service, they have to be a VIP. They can't be a COI. I mean, that's one of the major things.
I was literally about to ask you the difference. So cool.
Yeah, that's old regulation stuff.
Yeah.
That's just that's the main thing there.
Okay.
And just make sure you hit all the things that they're outlined in that rubric. Make sure that's all in there, because you can only miss 3 steps in this event, and then you're no go, and you don't get a do over.
Now,
Activities. Make sure you get the 3 prospecting and 3 administrative, and make sure that they're outlined that way. The easy way for the way I remembered it is I did all my prospecting activities on Friday and all my administrative activities on a Wednesday, or vice versa. Prospect events on Friday, administrative on Wednesday. Have a plan going into it. Just make it simple so you don't forget it.
now, is it frowned upon if I write down the rubric not in verbatim?
No, absolutely not. So if you memorize the rubric, and so when the station commander was doing its brief to me, that's exactly what I was doing. I was writing down the rubric so I could remember what to check off. So station commander was talking, and they're giving me the brief, and I'm not really taking down notes because I don't really care what the station commander's saying. I
Yeah.
know it's stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm being graded on what's on the rubric, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm listening to what station commander saying. He's saying follow up with future soldier X and do this with future soldier Y and talk to the. But I'm writing down the rubric because that's what I'm being graded on. I got 19 steps. I'm making sure I got 19 things that I'm trying to remember to do.
So you can't
Is that
bring in a pre-filled out rubric though, or a pre-filled
correct?
out card. You have to fill it out there prior to live fire.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the card had everything. Your index card has to be completely blank going into it. They're going to check it, make sure everything's completely blank, and then you can fill it out. As you're taking notes. They're not checking on the notes that you're taking. I mean, they might this year since I just said that. But you're taking your notes as you're talking to that station commander, and then the station commander said, "Hey, did you get all that?" I said, "Nope." Repeat it again for me. And then he
That way
said
you
it
had
all
more
over
time.
again, and I just kept writing down the same thing, make sure I had all 19 steps. And then once I had 19 steps written down, I'm like, awesome. Yep,
Now,
I'm ready
is
to
that
go.
do you think that that would be an instant no-go situation if they were like, "Hey, you have the rubric on these
No,
cards."
no, not unless they said that, because they can't gig you on something that they didn't say don't do. Now, if they said don't write down the rubric, then yes, but they're not going to make up a rule that's a no-go and then gig you on it.
I mean, realistically, you could just write down the rubric backwards.
Right. No,
Because I mean, it's not
they
the
will
rubric as
they
long
will
as it's
tell
not
you,
normal.
yeah, they will tell you the rules. They're not there to kick you out either. They want you to be. There's plenty of ways that you will fail the master recruiter badge without them making up a rule on the spot. This is a
Yeah.
hard damn competition. So I mean, there's you will have plenty of opportunities to fail this without them making up rules on the spot. And every year, that's people are writing down the rubric as they remember, so they know what to do and not do. It's there's nothing against that.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Sorry, I'm bombarding you with
no,
questions.
no. Hey, look, it's just I think it's just you and me. Did anyone else show up? I'm not in the.
No, there was another guy I work with that passed, and I sent him a reminder, and he blew me off. So
Okay.
okay,
Well, like I
whatever.
said, it's all recorded.
Yeah.
And last major thing, just make sure this screen is completely filled out. Like as station commander, I'm sure you're familiar with this. It's
Yeah.
kind of subjective, right? It's how you feel about it. This is some of it, senior population, it is what it is, but some of it is how you feel about it. Is the school neutral to you? Is the JRC willing to cooperate? That's based on the conversation you have. But it just has to be filled out.
Okay.
Easy go no go. If you don't fill it out, guess what? You lose that point. If you fill it out, as long as you filled it out, you're good to go. And this ad school event, I mean, this is you just clicked on that box there and this pops up. Just make sure something's in there. It
For
doesn't have
each
to be
meal. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be filled out. As long as stuff is in there, you're good to go. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, this is probably the more fun events, but it's awfully stressful because of that time hack that you're given. And when you're in the high school, there are a lot of distractors. There are people running around. There are future soldiers wanting to talk to you. There are janitors wanting to ask you questions. There are teachers wanting to take your time. And you have to be polite. You have to be respectful. Otherwise, they will not give you the information that you're looking for. And that's part of the juggling act that you have to do when you're in those schools. But the main thing is, know that rubric, know the stuff that you're looking for, and don't get distracted by the other stuff that the station commander is asking for. I remember last year I was a future soldier role player, and everyone kept getting hung up on trying to ask me about, I don't know, my grades or something like that. That wasn't something that was graded. No,
Yeah.
asking the future soldier about his grades and make sure he's on track to graduate is not something that you're graded on. It could be, building rapport with the principal, but there's other ways to build a rapport with the principal besides getting hung up, 5-10 minutes trying to square away a future soldier that's, failing his senior year or something like that. Don't just dismiss them, but don't waste too much time when you need to be spending time trying to get the rest of that information.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Like, I mean, I feel like for the most part, like you said, I mean, there's a lot of ways to fail this test. Me, I thought for sure when I took the initial test that I failed. I was like, there's no way I passed, after the enlistment eligibility. And then I got the word that I passed, and I was like, okay, now I'm actually 100% going to apply myself and try and figure it out,
Yep.
and that's just like, I feel like the test in November, which is the eligibility test.
Yeah, the enlistment eligibility exam. Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be just as difficult, if not more difficult, than everything else.
So I think I might have already put up a slideshow on that one, and it's basically the guidance counselor enlistment eligibility exam from when I went through the GCOC course.
Okay.
And it has a lot of scenario questions in there in like the notes section. If it's not, then I will try to get it up there over the weekend and hopefully it'll be up there by Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, I mean that's a tricky one, just because it is a lot of enlistment eligibility stuff. 601 210, UR 601 210, but that is it though.
Yeah.
AR and UR 601 210, and those scenario based questions.
Now, how long is that test?
Well, I don't have that in front of me, but again, it should be in the.
From what I heard, it's 20 questions, and I think you have like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
To do it.
That sounds correct.
Yeah, which I finished with 1 minute and 30 seconds left when I took the test itself earlier.
Oh yeah, yeah. I always, I always use all my time up for all those tests. I mean, there's no point not to. So
realistically, what is the hardest part about the whole thing?
The enlistment eligibility exam statistically gets most people knocked out.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, statistically, it gets over half the people knocked out. The telephone call and the Army interview are probably the most stressful, but I don't think that they get the most people knocked out just because you're gonna be doing a lot of practice with those the night before, and you'll be surprised at how easy it comes back to you. Because I know I was stressing out about those, and it comes back to you pretty easily. Let's see real quick. Let me pull up the schedule.
I heard from somebody that for the Future Soldier FSO, you can pull. There's actually, and I'm looking at myself. You can pull up the futuresoldiers.com, and it has a whole thing step by step.
Yeah. Almost nobody gets knocked out for that. I think I was the closest. That's probably knocked out for that one. Develop a plan. That gets a lot of people knocked out too, and we'll go over that one not next week, but the following week. Develop a plan gets a lot of people knocked out just because they get kind of caught up in the details or not caught up enough in the details. But develop a plan gets a lot of people knocked out.
Is it like just develop a weekly plan, or is it?
Yep.
So all you got to do is go into your calendar and develop a weekly plan.
No. The station commander gives you a whole bunch of stuff to do, and we'll go over it. I did a pretty good PowerPoint for it last year, I thought. But yeah, it gets a lot of people knocked out. But yeah, it's a tough one. Gets a lot of people knocked out. This one, school recruiting program, just because of all the two different sections of it, it does get a lot of people knocked out though too. When I went through, it got about half the people knocked out that got knocked out.
Okay, that passed the eligibility.
Yes,
test.
that passed the eligibility exam. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, because I do think it's smarter now that they're doing the exam, the eligibility exam, a month prior, because that way you don't have to do like DTS and everything like that just to get there and then fail first day.
Oh yeah, even better. a couple years ago, they used to not send you home. Even if you failed an event, they wouldn't tell you failed until graduation, and they just wouldn't give you a master recruiter badge.
Oh no, that's tough.
Yeah,
Real
yeah,
words.
yep. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's pretty much all I got for today. If you don't have any more questions, we'll be doing this every week. Like I said, next week we're going to be doing a recruiter network, building a network, which is a lot of fun. I don't think anybody got sent home from building a network, and that I thought that was actually a lot of fun, and that's a good event.
Okay. All right.
So-
Well, thank you, Sergeant.
Hey, not a problem. Like I said, this is saved. So if anyone else wants to review this, we went way too long, 47 minutes. I was hoping to do half an hour, but
Okay.
hopefully they'll be able to skip through a lot of our just chit chat and get to the meat and potatoes of anything that they're seriously concerned about.
Okay.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.